Looking for a degree program that rewards you for what you already know? At WGU, all of our bachelor's and master's programs are competency-based, allowing you to progress at your own pace. Washingtonians know how valuable time and money are, and so do we. At WGU, your hard work and experience can help you finish your degree faster and for less. Join a community of driven professionals from across the DMV who are unlocking new career opportunities today. See how your knowledge can give you an edge at wgu.edu.
Good afternoon. We are getting right down to business here, doing more at 4 weekday afternoons, live here on 790 KBC, streaming live online worldwide at kbc.com and your on-demand Mottek On Money podcast, kbc.com, Apple, iTunes, YouTube, all your favorite podcast platforms. Stay tuned tonight at 6 o'clock this evening for the Just Help One radio show and podcast presented by the Union Rescue Mission. I'll be back on the air at 6 o'clock this evening and every Thursday evening at 6 with Mark Hood, the CEO of the Union Rescue Mission. Go to justhelpone.org for more information. Well, stocks did move higher today. President Trump again urging the Federal Reserve to put in a jumbo rate cut amid easing inflation numbers we got this week, despite renewing a take-it-or-leave-it tariff threats on America's trading partners. Right out of the gate today, the horrific news in India, 240 dead, 1 survivor following the crash of an Air India Boeing 787 Dreamliner jetliner in India, plane crashing about a minute after takeoff. Boeing stock moving lower on that news. In that tragedy, down more than $10 at 203 and change. The overall market, though, moving higher. The Dow closed higher by 102 points at 42,968. The S&P 500 of 23 at 6,045, still hovering near its all-time high. And the NASDAQ of 47 at 19,662. That index also near its all-time high. Boeing stock weighed on the Dow today. We're also watching what's happening with gold and oil. Tensions between the U.S. and Iran have been rising. We're watching the wires here with reports that Israel might be set to attack Iran's nuclear program. That has sent the price of oil higher to near $70 a barrel, and gold is also on the move higher, right now above $3,400 an ounce. The other precious metals have also moved higher. President Trump repeating his call for more rate cuts from Fed Chair Jerome Powell ahead of their big meeting next week. We'll be getting a decision on interest rates and a statement on the economy from the Fed chairman next week, as well as a full-blown news conference. The dollar index sinking to the lowest level seen in 3 years amid tariff threats and new inflation numbers we got this week. We're also watching what's happening with Treasury Secretary Bessent telling Congress it's highly likely that countries in trade negotiations with the U.S. will see an extension of the 90-day tariff pause currently set to expire on July 9th. Mark your calendars for that one. With the yield on the 10-year note, meanwhile, down to 4.36%. Looks like mortgage rates have eased a bit this week. We'll take a closer look at that here as well. As far as the cryptos go, they're holding up pretty well these days, with Bitcoin hovering just below 106,000 here at the moment. Ethereum at 2,639, Doge at 18 cents, and Solana off its recent high at 152 per Solana coin. Watching, of course, what's happening in downtown Los Angeles very closely, following a week of protests there, as well as enforcement action. Los Angeles getting worldwide attention today, given the federal immigration law push in Los Angeles over the past week, which has led to protests and violence in the downtown L.A. core. We'll get an update on the business impact of all this from NELLA McCosker, President and CEO of the Central City Association of Los Angeles. She'll be joining us live later this hour. And watching what's happening in Washington, Grover Norquist will be with us live, President of Americans for Tax Reform, on the big, beautiful tax bill and some other important bills affecting businesses and consumers here. But first, on your money, the markets, the economy, and the whole works now. Joining us live, Jonathan HOENIG, Fox News contributor, portfolio manager at Capitalist Pig Hedge Fund, author of the book Price is Primary, How to Profit with Any Asset in Any Market at Any Time. Jonathan HOENIG, thank you very much for taking the call here this afternoon.
Frank, it's great to be with you. There's so much going on. I mean, how can you even start to cover it, from trade to unrest, as you said, in the Middle East, literally waiting for the bombs to drop, to a war that continues to go on in Russia, to the unrest in L.A., not to mention the debt and the deficits. And frankly, President Trump himself the uncertainty about what these deals are actually going to look like, there's plenty to worry about on Wall Street these days.
Well, Thursday, from experience, is the thickest news day of the week, and here we are. It's certainly a lot to unpack here, and then that horrific plane crash today in India impacting the financial markets as well. What's getting your most attention here today, Jonathan HOENIG, based on this big news day here?
Well, I think it's really a time in people's portfolio, Frank, for balance more than anything. Certainly stocks, but also bonds, commodities, and even cash and crypto. Now is really that time. That traditional 80-40 portfolio has been maligned in recent years, but now it's been a great year, I think, and will be a great year to have all of these asset classes represented. And when it comes to stocks, some of the best performing ones, Frank, have been international, emerging markets, small cap, and that's continues to be where I'm looking for opportunity these days. The big caps get to kind of get the headlines, but I think the real money this year is going to be made in some of these international and value names. One reason being is that the dollar, as you mentioned, the dollar is at a multi-year low. As the dollar goes down, the international and the emerging market stocks outperform, and that's exactly what they're doing.
And, of course, the precious metals have also made a big move on the upside. Gold back above $3,400 an ounce. It hit a record high of above $3,500 earlier this year. Silver, all of a sudden, at about a 13-year high, above $36 an ounce. Platinum, which we've talked about, look at this move, $1,292 and change, close to $1,300. All of a sudden for platinum, it was below $1,000 when we started talking about this quite some time ago. And palladium at, $1,071, it looks like. What about these precious metals here?
Yeah, they've really come to life. And Frank, one of the old adages that we always mention is that a rising tide does lift all boats. And we often see that in one asset class. When one name moves up, they all start to move up. And it's finally happened, as you said, with platinum and palladium, which we've talked about for quite some time. And I have to say, I think this is a trend that continues. Two names to look at are PALL, that's PLL, that's an ETF that tracks palladium prices, and PPLT, that is the ETF that tracks platinum prices. And, Frank, there's a real geopolitical reality here, is that much of that material comes out of Russia, and we're seeing President Trump using trade and exports and imports as very much a weapon in his quest for a stronger economy. I think it wouldn't be too surprising to see Russia perhaps curtail some of their platinum and palladium exports, pushing those prices higher. I think that's one of the reasons why you want to be long all of these commodity names right now at these prices. So
much going on. And then, of course, there was this deal with China just yesterday, forgotten like yesterday's lunch in the face of so many things happening. But this framework deal that was announced with tariffs being rolled back to, about 55%, I believe, and rare earths were involved in that discussion. What about that?
Well, the best tariff would be zero. I mean, look, a tariff is a tax paid by Americans, and what President Trump has effectively done is raise taxes on American imports. So we can debate that, I guess, over time, whether that's good or bad, but I think more than anything, it is the certainty that gives people some sense of being able to put money back to work in the market. I mean, Frank, the market's made an unbelievable recovery as we think about it. I mean, at one point, the S&P was down 15%, and now it's back up about 2-3%. And this type of recovery has only happened a few times in market history. And of course, the dive itself was caused by all that uncertainty about the tariffs. So whether it's 55%, 52%, I think if President Trump would set up a system that works, that people can depend on, they're going to feel a lot more comfortable putting money to work, putting money in the market, and ultimately creating jobs for more Americans.
All right, you said the word before I did this time, crypto, getting new attention with Bitcoin holding up pretty well in the face of all this, too. Right now hovering at around 106,000, Ethereum at 2,639, Doge at 18 cents, and Solana getting new attention lately at 152. What about the cryptos here?
Yeah, I mean, Frank, I've been a skeptic for most of the crypto run, and the thing that still bewilders me is that unlike stocks, we speculate in stocks, but by and large we speculate in real companies, companies with earnings, companies that hire people, fire people, have equipment, etc. And less than 2% of people who own cryptocurrency actually use it as a currency. So it really is a speculation, but it's a speculation that has continued to pay off, which is why I go back to where I started. This is a time to have a truly balanced portfolio. You want to have something from all of these different asset classes: stocks, bonds, commodities, even cash, Frank, right now. I don't think cash is trash. You can look at an ETF like Bill. BIL is a safe place to hang out. But I think really now is the time you want to spread the assets around, and a position in crypto is fine. I think if just don't make it your only position, which is what people tend to do when it comes to crypto.
All right, it seems like a year ago, it was just Monday that Apple had that big developers conference, and Apple stock has been in focus this week, below 200 once again. What about Apple and the rest of the Mag 7 here?
Well, I mean, Apple is, the dominant company in all the stock indices, and you used to be the saying, Frank, as goes GM, so goes the nation. And that really, you could say that about Apple. I mean, Apple has been just such a dominant leader for so long, and it makes an important stock because even if you don't own Apple itself, if you own an index fund, you have a pretty large position in Apple. So it's important to watch. And, Frank, this is actually one of the names. No diss on Apple as a company or its employees or its innovations, but it's one of these names that I think we're in a transition. This year is different types of names are working. It's not the Mag 7 anymore. It's, as I said, it's emerging market names. It's value-oriented names. I have a list that I'll happy to share with you. Names like DISV. This is an emerging market value ETF. So these are not been hot names in recent years, but I think that's really what's working now. So Apple, great company. Love the iPhone. I think they are going to survive. They're going to thrive. But I think the stock is going to underperform after many years of being the only game in town.
All right, since we last spoke, Microsoft and NVIDIA have been trading the top spot as the world's most valuable companies. Microsoft today up more than 6, by the way, at 478 and change. NVIDIA also higher by 2, it looks like, at 145 and change. What about those two names?
Yeah, I mean, breaking out to all-time highs. And, as I write about in Price's Primary, Frank, when we think of an all-time high, we get scared because we think, oh, it can't go any higher. It's at its all-time high. But more often than not, it's not the all-time high. It's just an all-time high. So I've been impressed with the strength in those two names, in particular Microsoft, hitting those new all-time highs. I mean, it's dragging the rest of the market up with it, which is a positive sign. So the market's been through a lot, as I said. I mean, at one point down 15%. So the fact that we're seeing these major stalwart names like Microsoft at new all-time highs, I think is a feather in the cap of America, and certainly a feather of the cap of our enterprising business owners everywhere.
All right, retailers getting attention today. Walmart in focus, pulling back $1 at 94 and change. RH, Restoration Hardware is what it used to be called, pulling back more than 2 at 176 and change, but up about 20% here in after-hours trading. The retailers seem to be very sensitive to the tariff news. What about the retail space here now?
Well, as you said, so sensitive to the tariff news, Frank. I mean, there's a whole business models built around low-cost imports, and there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. I mean, Restoration Hardware has been an amazing stock over the years. I mean, it's been a stock in the course of 10 years that's been worth anywhere from $29 a share to $600 a share. I've been in the store here in Chicago. It's pretty extraordinary what they ask for a piece of furniture, thousands and thousands of dollars, but someone's obviously buying it. So happy to see the stock up recently, but retailers by and large have not been breaking out. If we're looking for what groups are leading right now, it by and large isn't the retailers, but certainly an amazing move after hours here. RH up 20%. Wow.
See you tonight. Read about it tomorrow, but hear it now on Mottek On Money on 790 KBC. On the air live with Jonathan HOENIG, Fox business contributor, Fox Channel contributor as well, and also portfolio manager at Capitalist Pig Hedge Fund, author of the book that we've been talking about here. The book is Price is Primary, How to Profit with Any Asset in Any Market at Any Time. All of a sudden, oil is back close to $70 a barrel here now on the nervousness about what could happen in the Middle East. What about oil here?
Well, here's the way actually I play it, Frank. It's through Norway. The stock market of Norway is tremendously undervalued relative to U.S. I mean, trades at, I believe, under a 10 PE ratio. A lot of it dominated by fossil fuel-related companies. ENOR is the ETF, but I do think oil goes higher from here. As we talked about, the rising tide, it's going to lift all boats in the commodity sphere. So if you want to play oil, BNO is the best way to play it. BNO, that's like buying oil itself. But I think a bit more of a long-term and perhaps even hopefully better returning long-term perspective would be stock market of Norway, ENOR, for that international diversification.
All right. What about any individual oil names or oil refineries?
Well, there's one that's pretty easy to remember, and it is an ETF, Frank. It's not an individual stock, but it's CRAC, CRAK. They're very ingenious when they come up with these ticker symbols. The CRAC refers to the crack spread, which is traded by the oil refiners. So if you buy CRAK, CRAK, that is an ETF that tracks the oil refiners. And I do think you want to have some exposure to the oil patch right now, Frank. As we said, commodity prices can.
Looking for a degree program that rewards you for what you already know? At WGU, all of our bachelor's and master's programs are competency-based, allowing you to progress at your own pace. Washingtonians know how valuable time and money are, and so do we. At WGU, your hard work and experience can help you finish your degree faster and for less. Join a community of driven professionals from across the DMV who are unlocking new career opportunities today. See how your knowledge can give you an edge at wgu.edu.
Bravo TV star Lala Kent holds nothing back.
I think the boundaries are getting a little unboundaried, but that's fine.
From relationships,
it's grabbing coffee with your friends. That is
right up my alley.
Right?
To business and beyond.
Where there's history, true friendships, but it's fine. I've also been a rat. I'm obsessed with her. I hate her. Literally the exact same feeling.
If you really want to party,
you have to have the perfect combination.
Give them Lala. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
Continue to move up. I think we're going to be talking about $5 and $6 and $7 gallons of gas before the move is over.
Yeah, those energy ETFs are especially cute, right? Dust, I think, is one of them, and the list goes on. Moo is one of my favorites. I guess that's the agriculture ETF.
Yeah,
as far as names go.
Interesting, but yeah, I mean, there's so much opportunity out there, and so I think what I want to encourage to our listeners, we've gotten very used to just these small number of stocks. There's Magnificent Seven dominating, but there's plenty of opportunity out there. Another one that I like, we own it over at Capitalist Pig, is GWX. So this is small international stocks, two areas of the capital markets really which have been overlooked in recent years. Small cap international, but showing a lot of great strength in terms of price analysis and price action. So put it on your list, do your own due diligence, don't make it an all or none, but make this the year to truly have a balanced portfolio.
All right, we've seen wild moves in the bond market, which get a lot of attention these days. Looks like the yield in the 10-year note is back down to 4.36%. That's the one that impacts the fixed-rate mortgage rates, which essentially held flat this past week, with the average 30-year fix now at 6.84%, according to the latest survey from mortgage giant Freddie Mac. The average 15-year fix now at 5.97%, also slightly lower from last week. What about what's happening in the bond market, and for that matter, what's happening on the real estate front?
Well, when it comes to rates, Frank, I have to say I really don't know. For me, the 30 years seem to want that 5% level, seem to be comfortable, seem to be on the verge of breaking out to, multi-year levels. It's come back some, so we've seen rates come back down a little bit from where they were. But the thing is, the market has all the time in the world, so it could take 6 months bouncing around at the current levels before then ripping higher dramatically. So much of what's happening on Wall Street is determined by what's happening in Washington right now. So I think the fate of the bond market has a lot to do with the spending and the policy that comes out of D.C. that will determine ultimately what the inflation and the interest rates are in New York City.
All right, and then we have the sideshow. The drama continues. President Trump and Elon Musk. It looks like the president had a few words to say about Elon Musk today, as well as Tesla, at the signing of a congressional resolution targeting California's regulations on the adoption of electric vehicles. And Tesla stock down more than $7 today at $3.19. What about Tesla in all this drama?
I mean, Tesla itself is a drama. And, Frank, some people are devotees of Mr. Musk. Others are a little more uncertain. He's been, he experienced kind of the highest of highs being associated initially with the president. That, boosted Tesla stock dramatically. Then it had a huge sell-off. And a lot is going to ride, in my belief, on the robo-taxi rollout. That is supposed to rolling out this month in Austin, and so far, not much to be seen. It hasn't been launched, but I think all eyes will be on Austin with the launch of the Tesla robotaxi. If he can pull that off, the stock's got a chance.
Right, it looks like it's been delayed until sometime next week, from what I understand. And last but not least, remember the meme stocks, GameStop being among them. That stock closing lower today. It's been getting attention lately on Bitcoin buzz. Would you touch any of those meme names, including GameStop at this point?
I mean, it's like, Frank, when you travel through the Vegas airport, and if you have a layover at a Vegas airport, and you think, do I want to play the slot in the Vegas airport, knowing that it has the worst odds? I mean, you're going to get that thrill, but you're going to lose more than likely than not because it has the worst odds. And to me, that's what a lot of the meme stocks are. They're stocks with particularly bad odds, especially if they're breaking down in this case. So always better to try to buy a stock on the way up rather than on the way down. And a lot of the meme stocks, I think, had their day. So we're looking for tomorrow's meme stocks, and that to me wouldn't be one of them.
All right. Do we miss anything? Anything else you'd like to mention here? Any other specific places where you are putting money now and/or taking it off the table?
Sure. I mean, one kind of place to hide out perhaps could be a low duration bond ETF. It's not sexy, but when the world goes to hell, FLDR is full of very safe, very low duration bonds. You always want to do your own due diligence, but this could be a place to perhaps kind of hide out if things get unruly with any of the unrest in the Middle East or here at home.
Fantastic, Jonathan. Thank you very much for joining us live here this afternoon. Jonathan HOENIG, Fox News contributor, portfolio manager at Capitalist Pig Hedge Fund, author of the book Price is Primary, How to Profit with Any Asset in Any Market at Any Time. Jonathan HOENIG, thank you very much for joining us live here this afternoon.
My pleasure. Thank you, Frank.
Out to the freeways now on 790 KBC. 790 KBC welcomes, you guessed it, Engelbert, the one and only Engelbert Humperdinck, coming to the Saban Theater on June 14th. Tickets on sale now at AXS.com. Right now, caller 9 wins at 1-888-795-2222. You can get a pair of tickets to the show if you're caller number 9. Hope he plays and sings that beautiful song at the concert this weekend. Call now, caller 9 wins. 1-888-795-2222. Tickets furnished by the Saban at the Canyon, where music meets the soul. Engelbert Humperdinck at the Saban Theater, June 14th. Mottek On Money continues here in 790 KBC. The Dow up 102 points at the bell today at 42,968. The S&P 500 up 23 at 6,045. And the NASDAQ up 47 at 19,662. The yield of the 10-year note is back down to 4.36%. The volatility index, VIX index of 4%. Gold hovering just above 3,400 an ounce. And let's see, Bitcoin right now, just shy of 106,000. Ethereum at 2639. Doge at the moment at 18 cents. And now the latest news on 790 KBC. Mottek On Money continues, 790 KBC. Good afternoon. Some breaking news in Washington. The House just voted to cut about $9.5 billion in spending already approved by Congress as President Trump's administration looks to follow through on work done by the Department of Government Efficiency when it was overseen by the one and only Elon Musk. The package targeting foreign aid programs and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which provides money for National Public Radio as well as the Public Broadcasting Service, along with thousands of public radio and TV stations around the country. The vote that just happened was 214 to 212. How's that big, beautiful bill going? Let's get a comprehensive update now on what's happening in Washington. Let's go live now to Grover Norquist, the president of Americans for Tax Reform. Grover, thank you very much for coming to the line here this afternoon.
Absolutely. Wonderful.
Give us an update on what just happened there.
Our friends in the House passed, as you said, $9.8 billion reduction in spending, a rescission. This hasn't happened in more than 30 years, okay? This is what Elon Musk and Trump together and a Republican Congress were able to get done. This should pass the Senate. There may be some little thing here or there, but the Senate tells me that it should pass as well. But you know those ads where they want to sell you knives and then they go, but wait, there's more, and they keep adding things to what you're going to buy for $9.99 a month. And here's what I heard today from a fellow at the White House who runs the whole thing, and I had not fully understood this at all. And that is this $9.8 billion rescission plan, which is money that had been passed under the Biden administration, which hadn't gone out the door yet. They grab it and they rescind it and pull it back. It does not go out. There is as much as $100 billion that's going to go through this process. There are various ways that you can impound money, not something they've done recently. You can defer, keep not paying the bills, say we're not going to pay, you're not going to pay until the end of the year. There is a lot. I don't know why people think 9.8 billion is not a big number. It is a big number, not big compared to the size of the government spending. But there are a series of bills between now and September of this year that will be coming up. And this will continue in the future. And this is now a path that all Republican presidents and Republican Congresses can reach back and stop spending out into the future. So that there'll be more than this $9 billion plus budget cut. But then also on the big, beautiful bill, the Senate's going to pass a bill that's very similar to what the House did. There'll be some back and forth, but it'll all be made permanent. It'll be a big deal. There'll be lots of people who go, I didn't like this part that's missing, and I'll be in that group going, I wish we'd had this other thing. But here's the good news there also. There's not just one rescission package in the Trump 4 years. There's not even one rescission package in the Trump first year. There will be 3 reconciliation packages where you can't be filibustered, and we're going to save $1.7 trillion in this one in spending, and $4.5 trillion in tax reduction, stopping tax increases. And then in November, there's going to be another reconciliation package. And people are talking about indexing capital gains so you don't pay inflation on capital gains. They're talking about expanding health savings accounts, going and not double taxing the.
Looking for a degree program that rewards you for what you already know? At WGU, all of our bachelor's and master's programs are competency-based, allowing you to progress at your own pace. Washingtonians know how valuable time and money are, and so do we. At WGU, your hard work and experience can help you finish your degree faster and for less. Join a community of driven professionals from across the DMV who are unlocking new career opportunities today. See how your knowledge can give you an edge at wgu.edu.
Expert entrepreneur Ed Milet is on a mission to max out your life.
We're throwing open the metaphorical closet doors of our lives. We're going to be cleaning out the closet. What no longer fits? Audit some of your relationships. How about auditing your emotions? Maybe it's your career you need to look at. Get your life together for this season.
The Ed Milet Show.
It's time for a little cleaning of the soul. Let's get a little ruthless, a little refreshing, and a little real. God bless you, everyone.
Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
Income of Americans who work overseas. Right now, America is one of the few countries that double taxes you. If you work overseas, you have to pay French taxes and American taxes. And there are a lot of other really good ideas yet to come up. So there will be 2 more big, beautiful bills and 5 or 6 more of those rescission packages, the $9+ billion you're talking about. There is much good stuff to be done. Each time these pass, take a look at all the good stuff that's happening. And remember, we're going to play this game again in a matter of weeks and months.
The word rescission re-entering our vocabulary for the first time in 30-plus years. See it tonight, read about it tomorrow, but hear it now at Mottek On Money on 790 KBC Live with Grover Norquist, President of Americans for Tax Reform. And certainly those billions and billions mean a lot to NPR and PBS. And looks like these cuts are expected to prove popular with constituents who align with President Trump and those who view NPR and PBS as having a liberal bias. Certainly those, especially PBS, has evolved quite a bit. I was a staff announcer at one of the stations years ago, and we said, now stay tuned for the procreation cycle of the squid on Jacques Cousteau, but looks like the programming has changed over the years, right?
I love that show.
Me too.
Yeah.
At that time.
Well, I would hope that people hate the idea of funding a government television and radio station because the government shouldn't be running radio stations and television stations, period. They shouldn't run churches. Churches are nice, but they shouldn't be run by the government. TV stations and radio stations are nice, but they shouldn't be funded by the government. It's not that they're liberal or conservative. I don't want a conservative government radio station. I don't want a government radio station.
Certainly, media has evolved also over the years, so you raise a very, very important point. Anything else that's happening there on the Senate side with this big, beautiful bill? Is it stuck in the mud there, and when do you expect a breakthrough?
Oh, well, the Senate's going to pass its own bill. It'll be 70% what the House passed. And then there's some things that are going to change. The House made the extensions of expensing for research and development, for new machinery, plant, and equipment, and for certain the tax deductibility, expensing of certain interest payments for investment in businesses. Those were made out 4 or 5 years by the House. They'll be made permanent, are being made permanent by the Senate. And the Senate is a little less excited about having $300 billion in state and local tax deductibility restored. That's a very expensive tax loophole or reduction that could be used for pro-growth things instead of pro-government spending. So there's some improvements that the Senate will make. There are also some things the Senate's just not as excited as the House about. They are co-equal branches of government. They will each have their say. They will come to an agreement fairly quickly, but it will be back and forth, and we'll do this, everything's falling apart about 3 times between now and a few weeks from now.
Just about 1 minute left here, but how is this battle royal playing out between Washington and California, and what's being said about this on the front line there in Washington?
I think the sense is that the left decided to get violent. The president said we're not going to have violence. The police around the country are saying we don't want violence in these demonstrations, like the Black Lives Matter demonstrations, where people got killed and police stations got burned down and buildings got burned down. And the establishment press was telling everybody it was a mostly peaceful riot over there. People are getting hurt by these rioters. They're organized by labor unions. So it's not like a handful of kids being silly. I mean, I was at one of the demonstrations in D.C. Everybody was wearing a union. These were all being let out of the union offices to go pretend to be demonstrators with their T-shirts that announce what union they were from. So they weren't hiding it very well.
Grover, thank you very much for taking the call this afternoon. Live from Washington, Grover Norquist, President of Americans for Tax Reform, live here on Mottek On Money on 790 KBC. Frank Mottek here for United Gold Group. Did you know that for more than 10,000 years, gold has been the greatest store of value and considered a safe haven asset to preserve your wealth? Well, now with the U.S. debt at more than $36 trillion and climbing, possible recession on the horizon, and the development of the digital dollar, central bank digital currency is more critical now than ever before to safeguard your assets like your cash savings and retirement accounts with physical gold. Opening a gold IRA is one of the best ways to secure your wealth and create a stable financial future. Stop worrying about your retirement in the market and cash savings in the bank. Feel confident, prepared, and in control with physical gold and yes, silver. Give my friends at United Gold Group a call. The number is 800-753-8534. Mention Mottek and you can get $1,000 worth of silver with a qualifying purchase. Call now, 800-753-8534, or visit UnitedGoldGroup.com. Mottek On Money continues here in 790 KBC. Good afternoon. It was just about a week ago that downtown LA business and civic leaders gathered at the Music Center for the Central City Association of LA, celebrating the Treasures of Los Angeles Gala, which this year included Father Gregory Boyle, founder of Homeboy Industries, ASU University, which has an important presence in downtown LA. Also, special honors for the LA City and County Fire Departments this year. Over the past week, we've seen protests and now a curfew in downtown Los Angeles, given the federal immigration law push in the past week, which has led to protests and violence in the downtown LA area. Let's get an update now on what's happening. And joining us live now is NELLA McCosker, the president and CEO of the Central City Association of Los Angeles. NELLA, thank you very much for taking the call here this afternoon.
Thank you, Frank. Happy to be here.
Wonderful to have you with us, and heartbreaking to see what's happened over the past week since that magnificent gala where you honored the Treasures of Los Angeles, that wonderful annual event. Give us an update on what's happening there now.
So downtown continues to be the place where it is a natural location for gathering, for celebration, like the Dodgers parade that we saw at the end of that exciting season, but also in these moments of civil unrest and strife. What is an important distinction to make is that while gatherings in downtown have been and can be quite peaceful, there are opportunists who take advantage of that moment and impose, violence, looting, graffiti on our businesses and on our public infrastructure in downtown. The curfew that was, a call from CCA and its stakeholders and businesses and business improvement districts after Monday night's events has proven to be quite an effective tool thus far. It is not a good scenario to have a curfew for residents. We have about 90,000 residents here in the downtown area. We have many businesses whose operations extend, of course, past 8 o'clock or would want to if they could host patrons then. And we have major events, the opera and the events at LA Live that can and should extend past 8 o'clock for the people we want to come into the city center. So the last few nights have been much more controlled. We've seen significantly less of what we saw, at least on Monday night, as a big uptick in that violence. Businesses are still sort of figuring out how to manage the coming days, but we maintain that it was an important tool, and it must be a short-term measure. It has to be adaptable to the changing circumstances. Just this afternoon, we worked in collaboration with the city to create some additional guidelines that allow for ticketed patrons and patrons who may be leaving a restaurant or a venue at a later hour to still safely exit. So it is important that we maintain that nuance as we go.
On the live with Nella McCosker, the leader of the most important business organization in downtown Los Angeles, the Central City Association of Los Angeles. Certainly safety and security, very big issues right now for businesses. Let's focus on that for a moment. Are there enough LAPD officers there, in your opinion? You have National Guard there too, right? And possibly Marines. What is the security situation there now?
Again, it's a different story pre and post curfew. The curfew was a tool that really enabled local law enforcement to ensure that individuals who were coming primarily in the evening hours with a specific purpose of looting and destruction and vandalism to be stopped. And so while there is still some of that activity that may be occurring, it is a small fraction of what it was. As we transition away from the curfew, we do very much need very surgical, very tactical, very adaptable efforts to ensure that our local law enforcement addresses these issues. There are additional tiers of law enforcement at the ready, but thus far it is not, and especially in the last couple of days, it has not proven to be necessary based on the calmed situation.
All right, it was such a magnificent event last week, and of course you focus on the positive aspects of downtown Los Angeles and the businesses there. Tell us about that wonderful gala and the folks that you recognized.
Thanks for recalling that, Frank. It was a really lovely celebration, and it is possible for downtown to hold multitudes, right? Just as any city across Los Angeles, we are capable of holding all troops at once. But we recognized Father Greg Boyle, of course, the founder of Homeboy Industries, which is a pillar of the downtown community in providing folks second chances. The president of ASU, which has now acquired an important footprint in the downtown Los Angeles community. Most importantly, the Fashion Institute, FITM, which is part of the ASU umbrella now. And then, of course, we had to take a moment to recognize the Los Angeles City and County Fire Departments for their bravery that was on full display just earlier this year. We have strong partnerships with our fire departments and with our law enforcement agencies at CCA, and it's nice to be able to celebrate them recognize their work as many sort of public safety crises ensue just in different ways right now in this particular moment as well.
Well, thank you for your leadership there at this critical moment. For anyone that wants to connect with you and the Central City Association of Los Angeles, what's the best way to do that?
You can find us at ccala.org. That's our website, and where you can find information about how to become a member, reach out to the staff, and engage with us. Our policy work has focus in downtown Los Angeles, but increasingly and importantly, we do work across the Los Angeles city and Los Angeles region.
Well, Nella, thank you very much for that important update. We'll keep an open line to you on any other important announcements related to the business community there in downtown LA. Nella McCosker, the president and CEO of the Central City Association of Los Angeles, live with us here on Mottek On Money on 790 KABC.
I am Michael Rosenbaum.
I am Tom Welling.
Welcome to Talkville,
where it's fun to talk about Smallville.
We're going to be talking to sometimes guest stars. Are you liking the direction Lois is going in?
Yeah, because I'm getting more screen time.
It's good. But mostly it's just me and Tom remembering.
I think we all feel like there was a scene missing here.
You got me, Tom.
Let's revisit it. Let's look at it. See what we remember.
See what we remember.
I had never been around anything like that before. I mean, it was so fun.
Talkville.
I just had a flashback.
Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
Let's get into it.